So, I have a special set of skills. None of them is keeping my mouth shut. Yes, guys, we're talking about Liam Neeson, who has a chronic case of foot in mouth disease, or maybe white hood in mouth disease. Look, I'm a big Liam Neeson fan. I've loved him from Qui-Gon Jinn in The Phantom Menace, the recent Taken movies, and of course, who can forget his Oscar quality performance in Schindler's List. He even voiced Aslan, the Jesus-esque lion in the Chronicle of Narnia movies. He is a living saint in cinema, for crying out loud. He is the voice of God, a bit like how Morgan Freeman is the voice of God in Hollywood terms anyway. So I can't lie that I was a bit disappointed to hear, especially on social media, Liam Neeson has turned racist, bigoted Ku Klux Klan member on us, espousing homicidal thoughts of murdering innocent black men. Now, I don't kid, it's a very serious subject, but I did my due diligence, as I always try and be fair, and I actually sought out the interview in question. To give you a bit of background, I'm not going to go into every detail of what he said, but he was promoting a new movie where he plays a father out for revenge of the murder of his son. I know he's been typecast in these revenge movies for some time. Do you remember Taken, anyone? I have sat in these junkets, I've interviewed Hollywood celebrities in these junkets. They're stuck in a hotel room all day answering the same question over and over about their movie. What was it like to work with this director? What was it like to work with that actor? What was it like acting in front of green screen? Yada, 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 yada. So it's a breath of fresh air when an actor hears a question they've not been asked before. And us actors, did I ever mention I'm an actor? We love to talk about deep and meaningful things. We use our own lives as a tapestry to weave intricate details into the roles that we play. So if you ask an actor a question like, did you have any desires to get revenge on anyone in your life? Liam Neeson's thinking, oh, that's a question I've not heard before. It caught him off guard and he answered honestly, a bit too honestly. In short, he mentioned a story of when he was a younger guy and he had a very close woman friend who he found out had been sexually assaulted. His next follow-up question, which especially in modern ears is very, very weird and totally not in the realm of acceptability, was what colour was that person? I guess in a way when you wanted to describe, get a police profile so you can go and do a bit of vigilantism. But anyway, he asked what colour was the perpetrator and the lady said he was a black guy. So he mentioned how he stalked the streets, I presume, of Ireland, walking around with a weapon, hoping to run into a black guy that he can take his anger, his righteous anger, out on that person, whether they were innocent or not, and vent his anger and commit an assault, even a murder. Now, he said this, very unusual, full disclosure, through dramatic pauses and a sense of deep shame and regret. It was a bit like he was confessing to a priest at his local Catholic church, except for this priest had a recording and he went out jumping, clicking his heels, knowing that he had a front page story. Some of you be thinking, wouldn't you be shocked and appalled by this very dark admission? I absolutely am. But unlike many who were wanting to characterise Liam Neeson for what he did back in the day, for who he is now, remember, listening to the audio, you get the nuances of a man who deeply regrets his momentary murderous thoughts and is completely ashamed of himself. And again, we're in a culture that we like to encourage people to admit their guilt, to own up to their prejudices, to own up to their pathological, institutional racist ways. Yet when someone actually does it, especially someone on such a high profile as a Hollywood actor like Aslan and Qui-Gon Jinn, don't forget Oscar Schindler, suddenly we're saying, shut up, don't you say such nasty things, you racist, evil man. Didn't he say he's deeply ashamed of this episode in his life? He has deep remorse and he mentions it with deep regret and a sense of shame. But no, that's not good enough for our modern, easily triggered culture where we jump on the content of what people are saying, but not the context. It's like we're waiting to be offended. Obviously, as you can clearly see, I'm a black man, African American to my American friends. So you assume that I would be going out there with a picket fork or a cob, as he said in his story, wanting to go out to bash Liam Neeson's face in. I say that to make the point that, no, actually, I don't want to give him a medal like famous footballer John Barnes said in an interview, because after all, why get a medal for saying that you wanted to do something sick and wrong? But I do appreciate that he owned his very dark homicidal tendencies, and he realized that there's a bigger picture at play. That the narratives of black men, the narratives of them being a threat and a danger to women, goes back from the foundations of America. It goes back to slavery times and as recent as the 20th century. A movie that I absolutely loved that came out last year, and I had the privilege to see it at the BFI Film Festival, was If Beale Street Could Talk, the film of the famous novel by James Baldwin. I don't want to spoil it for those in case you're going to see it and you're completely oblivious, but let's just say it features a black man accused of a heinous crime, and the biggest crime that he was actually guilty of was being black in the wrong time at the wrong place. So we all know the injustices that befall too many black men in the criminal justice system, even today in the 21st century. And we all know about the history of accusing innocent black men of heinous crimes. And we also know about jungle justice and the thirst for revenge, where if you find out a paedophile is in the street, you want to go and you want to set their house alight or do them a serious injury. But does that make it right? Do two wrongs make a right? I want to submit to you the idea, just a mere possibility, that Liam Neeson may have been wrong-headed and a little bit of a numpty, sorry, that's an English term for idiot, for admitting this dark chapter of his life outside of a therapist's office. But I also want to say that it's actually started a conversation which I think is very, very important. The little seeds of justification that we use to excuse ourselves of potential heinous, criminal, violent, hateful acts. When we other people, we symbolise them as the evils of our society. I applaud Liam Neeson, not for the momentary twisted mindset that he found himself in as a result of his compassion for his friend, but for the ability for him to recognise that his thoughts were abhorrent and wrong, and that they are part of a whole system that has painted black men as predatory perpetrators of crimes, that even if you saw a random black man, he'd be worthy of your judgment like you were some kind of judge, jury and executioner on the street. Liam Neeson, let me give you some advice. I love you as an actor and I think your heart is in the right place. But next time, really think about what you're going to say before it's going to be blasted in front of millions. But that said, I'd rather you own up to your former transgressions and start a conversation of racial reconciliation than for you to be a closet racist who has his thoughts, keeps them in his private space, gives me a smile and a hug and goes on his merry way. Because I always believe it's better for people to confront the truth than to hide from it. Consider this. If Liam Neeson, a voice of God, Aslan, Qui-Gon Jinn and the great liberator of the Jewish people, Oskar Schindler, can harbour a racist thought to go out and murder an innocent black man back in the day, then what is going on in the mind of other mere mortals in society as they pass someone who looks like me on the street? Am I out on a limb here? Do you think I'm being too lenient on Liam Neeson? Am I starstruck because he's appeared in some of my favourite movies? Or am I just coming at it from a third angle that addresses that what he thought and what he was going to do would have not only been criminal, would have been beneath contempt? But he's not that man today by his own words, and he realises the folly of that dark chapter in his life and using it as a teaching moment to talk about the folly of revenge and prejudice against people representing the sin of one. It's just my opinion, and that's a matter of fact. I'm Antony Aris-Osula. Thank you for watching.